We're very gratified with how well she's been welcomed by the Rush family, so to speak. Guys, right there, you've seen it in black and white. Geddy used the term Rush family. I couldn't even get her drunk last night. And he laughs and I laughed. I tried. Wow. Geddy, come on. That's bad influence of minors. All right, come on. She's underage. Joking. For Geddy to say that Anika reminds him of the big goofball that sat on the drum thumb, meaning Neil. You know what? In that story right there, where they couldn't get her drunk last night, but Geddy tried, that sounds kind of like a Neil thing. Meaning, yeah, we know Neil drank. He loves his Macallan. But I don't think he was aiming to get drunk. Half the time he's just using it for pain relief after the concert. This isn't about her being a woman, about Anika being a woman. This is about her being a drummer. She should be picked first and foremost as a great drummer, and I believe she has. So it is really inspiring to see Geddy and hear Geddy say, we did not hire Anika Nilles because she's a woman. We hired her because she's an incredible drummer. Welcome back to the Loud Boy Experience. You know, in the weeks leading up to the 50-something tour, Rush has been doing interviews all over the place. I bet you've noticed. We've already covered one of them, and I'm going to be covering more. But it's the Guitar World interview we're talking about tonight with Geddy and Alex. There's some new information in there and some stories, and I want to share this with you. But also, you guys have been overwhelmingly asking me, have you seen the Rick Beato interview with Geddy Lee? And by the way, Alex joins later in the interview, and that's finally a resounding yes. Frank, one of our fellow Loud Boys out there, he emailed me today and said, did you see it? So I wrote back, I said, not yet, but I took care of that tonight. I watched the entire interview. There's one specific thing with regard to the Rush set list, a song, and Anika. And I can't wait to share it with you. Guys, as always, thank you for being here. I'm Eric. This is the Loud Boy Experience, and let's go.
You tell me. A lot.
Three quick things before we get to the article. That's the Guitar World article and interview with Alex and Geddy. We're going to be going through it. I told you guys that I've been walking for my health, and one of you put it so beautifully in the comments. And you said, when that check engine light comes on. I just love that. Because for me, that's what happened recently. When I was admitted into the heart hospital and went through the insane battery of tests, and I'm going to need more tests, but the point is, it was a wake-up call. It was my check engine light coming on, and I'm glad it did. And I've been making some changes. I've been eating a lot better. I mean, a lot better. But secondly, I've been walking. And so today alone, I did 10.6 miles, personal best in this new journey of walking that I've been doing. And man, when I got done with that 10.6 miles, I felt really good. I mean, really good. Not only physically, all right, but mentally and emotionally. It's helping. It's starting to work. And I know exercise is not about immediate gratification. It is a journey. It is something you have to commit to and stay dedicated to. And man, am I doing my best to do that. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing the best I can. Secondly, the Rick Beato interview, during part of it, and talking with Geddy. And he said, I'm going to paraphrase here, we added a song at the last minute. So say they have around 40 songs, right? 38, 40 songs that they're kind of in the refinement stage now. And they have them basically nailed down, but they're really kind of refining them and kind of mastering them, getting them perfect for the stage. Okay, so but they added one in the last minute. And Geddy said Anika lost her mind. And then he kind of said after that, because there were already so many songs, so they said, okay, we'll take two out so we can have this one. And then he added, this song has a lot of different time changes. Okay. Well, guess what? In another interview, Anika said Natural Science has to be her favorite song because of all the different sections of it and all the different passages of it. You know, she just loves the complexity and the beautiful. And I mean, so do I. If I had to pick one Rush song, it would be Natural Science. Here's my theory. They added Natural Science, pulled out 2 songs. That's why she lost her mind. It's hard, but she's excited to play it. So, guys, that is my theory, and I hope it does come out. I hope we do learn what the song is. Heck, it could be Xanadu for all we know. But I have this gut feeling that Natural Science will be on this tour, given the information we had, given this new information from the Rick Beato interview. So there's my theory. It's Natural Science. And man, now I have to go. Now I have to go. Okay, finally, you know we've already talked about classic rock, and we did an Anika. I have another interview from that we're going to cover here, but also there's a prog rock magazine. I've kind of backburnered some stuff, especially given the news about Guitar World that came out just today. I put those on a back burner, if you will, so we can talk about what's really most current, but we're going to get to those soon. So some more classic rock, the prog rock magazine, and finally, one of you guys sent me an epic in scale, I mean epic and long. He sent me the Google Doc of a poem that he wrote, and this poem integrates Rush album names, song names into one epic. And I said, dude, Homer and Tolstoy would be, and for that matter, Tolkien would be very proud of you, meaning in just sheer length, right? This is the cover of the upcoming issue of Guitar World. Please go and support these guys. Go pick up this magazine at your local newsstand or wherever you buy magazines. Go ahead and pick it up and support them. And I also want to thank Cygnus X1 Cygnus-X1.net. As always, I thank him for this transcript, but also his 20 years of being a mega fan, his love of Rush, and his dedication to archiving everything Rush. An amazing website, Cygnus-X1.net. Guys, do check it out. And again, I thank you, and all of us here at the Loudboy Experience, thank you for this amazing site and for this transcript. I do appreciate it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So here we go. This is the article, upcoming issue, and it has 3 different articles in it. So what I mean by this is the Re-Enter Stage Left article. There is also Closest to the Heart and Heavy Lies the Crown. 3 different articles centering around Rush. This one, Re-Enter Stage Left, is by Joe Bosso. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. At first it's kind of, they, by the way, this is a Zoom. All right, they did this over Zoom. Geddy and Alex, I assume from Toronto, they did a Zoom interview. And so that was the parameters here. But so basically, after doing some pleasantries and stuff, they talked about the announcement and keeping it quiet. And this is what they said. The announcement was almost casually during a private event at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in last October, responding intentionally to a placed fan questioning asked if they would ever tour again. And Lee, at that time, last October at the Rock Hall, said, I kind of think we should tour next year. And then, initially the tour, dubbed 50-something, was relatively short. You guys all know that, but now we know it's 86 total concerts, going all the way through 2027 in Finland. Now, this is it. Check this out. It was very surprising, Lifeson says, about the reaction from the fans. Lifeson goes on, Alex goes on, we knew there were fans who wanted us to come back, Lee says, that's Geddy. We get messages all the time and they went to see Al and me playing together in whatever way they played. We're very fortunate to have such a loyal fan base. That's you and me. But I don't think Al or I or anyone associated with us expected the overwhelming response to the very first announcement. You guys remember how crazy it was last October. We covered it right here on this channel, and those videos are still available. If you want to check out my stuff from last October, please do. Geddy goes on. He admits to feelings of frustration following the conclusion of Rush's last tour, the R40, in 2015. In his view, that's Geddy, the band was playing in peak form, And both he and Lifeson want to keep going. We kind of knew that already if you've read other articles or heard other things. But Neil Peart, however, had other ideas and wanted to live the rest of his life. He was so happy being a full-time dad. Love that. And his body just said to him, that's enough of a touring musician. I can't do it anymore. So this one was new to me. Over the next few months, Lee and Lifeson accepted Peart's decision, saying, that's life. No hard feelings, Lee says. And the man, he goes on to say, the man, meaning Neil, certainly earned a break from the maddening crowd. I guess that's you and me, the maddening crowd. Anyway, so it goes on to talk about how we lost Neil, what they've done since, Geddy's autobiography and the different things in the 72 stories and so on. Instrumental tracks goes on. Now, let's get right to the next question. When was it exactly you two started to play Rush songs together again? Of course, you can see Geddy Lee says, I'd say late 2024. I just finished work on my third book, and I was sitting down looking at all these bass guitars, and they were making me feel very guilty. I imagine, right? His collection, and they're not being played. By the way, in the Rick Beato interview, he said he used 27, I believe, different bass guitars on the R40 tour. Wow. I mean, I know his collection's massive, but that's a lot for just one concert date. 20. Anyway, heck, that's almost a bass for every song. All right, so he used about. So I remember that little tidbit from the great interview, guys. Go to Rick Beato's channel, check it out. I have an upcoming video where I'm going to be talking about what I learned, my impressions of that, and we're going to hash this out. I'm not going to be showing the interview, but we're going to be talking about it and maybe showing a couple clips about the Rick Beato, Geddy Lee / Alex Lifeson interview. It's on his channel right now if you want to check it out. Please, after this video. All right, moving on. So I started getting my fingers back in shape. This is Geddy talking. And they were really out of shape. I came down here every play, that's his studio, and I was having dinner with Al, that's who he calls Alex, one night, and I told him, yeah, I'm getting my fingers back in shape. I've been writing a bit of lyrics. Oh, that's interesting. He's been writing lyrics. Okay. Maybe we should jam. So, hey, that's I had not heard that yet. He's had been writing lyrics because we've all wondered, what are they going to do? Who's going to write lyrics? And I said, one of my last videos, I said, I enjoyed Geddy's lyrics on My Favorite Headache. And it showed that he could write some pretty good lyrics. Are they Neil? No, no one is. But they were pretty good lyrics, in my opinion. I still love My Favorite Headache. Love that album. I still enjoy listening to it somewhat 25 years later. Still enjoy My Favorite Headache, which for me is a big deal. Maybe we should jam, he goes on. We saw each other every day for a couple weeks to have dinner or drinks or something. Al, meaning Alex, that's what Geddy calls Alex. Al came over and we just started jamming. Having fun the way we'd always do and have some coffee. We were having a laugh. And then Al, I think, one of us suggested, let's play a Rush song just for fun. If we can remember it, without doing any homework. Of course, we could remember our parts. That's kind of how it started. All right, next question. Aside from Rush songs, what else were you jamming? We were just jamming. I mean, come on, it's just jamming. Next question. When you two guys from Rush get together and play Rush songs, what do you play? Alex, I love this response. Alex says, well, there's like 1,000 to choose from, and we tried the easiest ones. And then Lee's retort, Geddy says, there are no easy ones. I love that response. Okay. When it was just the two of you playing on your own, or did you have some core? So basically this question is, you guys are playing and you're jamming. Do you have like a rhythm track, some kind of, rhythm going on from something, drum machine or something, or some kind of accompaniment? Okay, so here's the answer. Lee, it was just the two of us. Sometime we pull up the song and play along. Oh, that's interesting. So they played along with themselves. And then they're wondering what it sounds like. Al remembers Free Will being the first song that we tried. Okay, that's interesting. The first song they tried was Free Will. Lifeson said, yeah, it was. Lee says, which for a bass player is not a walk in the park. That was interesting to see my fingers tell me to get lost, but it was fun. And we ended up really laughing, and we walked away from that goofy session Not only had we had some interesting jams put on tape, so that's interesting. They're recording themselves, which, by the way, I know that of them. In the later years of them prepping for albums and their writing and their jamming and stuff, they were just recorded it all, right? Especially with Alex. Alex is a very spontaneous player who improvises, and maybe only 4 or 5 times. And because of that, you got to catch that lightning in a bottle when it happens. Because guess what? Later on, he may not even remember what he played. And he certainly won't play it exactly like that. So if there was magic to be had, you better bottle that stuff up quickly. Moving on. All right. But it was fun. We ended up really laughing, and we walked away from that goofy session. Not only had we put some interesting jams down on tape, I'd love to hear those jams. Wink, wink. We didn't know if something would ever happen, if they'd remain in the bin, but we walked away with a smile. Playing our songs was fun, so they're having fun back then. The next time we got together to jam, we started challenging each other. Hey, can you remember this one? Then we would flail through it, even though we started to get this sheepish grin in all our sessions. It was like, what are we doing here? Are we doing something? Are we quietly tricking each other into going back on the road? But it was still a ways away before that. I love that. This kind of organic step-by-step process they went, getting a little bit inching their way along towards, doing the tour. What was the moment like when you finally said it out loud? And who did they say it first? Meaning when they finally said out loud, we're going to go tour. Lee replies, I don't know how it went, but usually in the past, hey, Al, you want to do some shows? What do you think about this? But it was a bit sheepish. Like we'd already been down that road and didn't work out like with shows for Taylor. We went down that road a little bit. Al wasn't into it for some reasons. I don't know who. Lifeson says, I remember Geddy saying, we should get together. You should come over, have a coffee. Then there's some stuff we need to talk about. And I went over and we did exactly that. We kind of talked about it. Why don't we just go out and play one of these days? Just play some stuff. Maybe work on some stuff or whatever. And one thing led to another. And I mean, after being together for 60 years, we just wanted to be playing together. That's it, man. I've mentioned this before. If you're a musician, what should you be doing? You should be playing. I mean, isn't that, it's like logic right on its face. And that's kind of saying it. And we've been playing for so long, we just wanted to be playing together. And that's what we did the first day. We were just laughing and smiling and really enjoying it. Like you said, we were jamming. We're playing bluesy stuff or whatever, which led to us playing a Rush song or two. That eventually led to playing maybe more Rush songs, and then the ball started rolling and started going on its own. And it seemed to have a life of its own energy. Everything started to fall into place, moving towards ultimately deciding, this is Lifeson talking, I needed convincing for sure. Once I felt better, because you guys know that Alex has been dealing with some intestinal, digestive issues. And I believe that's how he puts it. Once I felt better and I got my health in order back in 2015, and that was a big hurdle. Of course, it's a big hurdle. I can't imagine. This was not a feeling being well enough or healthy enough to go back on the road or commit to doing anything. I can understand that too. But as time went by, especially at that age, heck, at my age, I can completely, all right. But as time went by and I felt good, I started playing more and more and ideas came up and it seemed kind of natural. And we still really started playing together. It's one thing to do one song, but it's a whole another thing to do 40 songs. No kidding, right? And I'll tell you, it's hard, really hard, but it's really exciting and it feels really good. And the songs really started coming together and the fingers start going to the right places. I love it how he puts it. Man, my fingers are going to the right places. That's a good thing. And it all comes back to you. Muscle memory is a mysterious thing, but it's beautiful. Makes a lot of sense. Next question. That must have been a strange and incredible process. This is them asking the question. And as you said, you needed some convincing. This is Lifeson. Yeah, it was gradual. It started sounding good. And it goes on to say, but I'd made the commitment. It was all in the moment. I realized, yes, this is going to be a good thing. It's going to be a good thing for me and us personally. Next question. No doubt, were you considering your health, wondering physically, should I do this? Alex, Once I concentrated on my digestive system, that was the main problem. So again, he had to put that behind him. Next question. Would it be right to assume that numerous drummers approach you? This is a great question. I do know this. There was always and only one drummer that Geddy and Alex wanted, and that's Anika. Period. And they feel very lucky to have gotten her. But this is a different question. Okay? Did numerous drummers approach you over the years? Okay, so this is people wanting to be the drummer. This is Lee. This is Geddy saying, well, yes. I mean, people who are close to us, good friends and successful drummers, would never infer something like that because they have too much respect, not only for Neil, but for the situation, of course. They were grieving as well. So that would be so selfish for them to see, it'd be just inappropriate. There were many other drummers who reached out to me in the aftermath of Neil's passing that were pushing themselves. Oh, interesting. And that was distasteful for me. Yeah, you think? You lose your friend and drummer and lyricist and your brother of 45 years. It's like, and next day, like, hey, you guys need a drummer? I mean, come on. So that told them a lot. It was a completely inappropriate timing. Yeah, it was. Of course, this is Geddy continuing. We have some great pals and amazing drummers in their own right. They're in very successful bands. We didn't know where to begin to look and when we had to choose a drummer. So we started with Anika because she was recommended to me, of course, from the drum tech. And we did some research on her. I loved her vibe and her diverse style. And I had her in mind if I was going to do some kind of project. Geddy continues. We didn't have a list. We never ever accumulated a list of drummers. When Al and I finally said, okay, I guess we're getting serious. Who's going to sit in that impossible seat? Meaning, who's going to sit on the drum throne where Neil sat? Yeah, that is an impossible seat. How do you ask anyone or someone to replace a guy who's irreplaceable? Geddy continues. It's daunting. We started with the name that was already in mind, Anika. And we called her up. And she came. We hit it off. Yes, she went to Toronto. They played some songs. But more importantly, they got to know each other in those days. She spent 5 days to a week there or something, right? Played some, got to know them, spent time with them. And they hit it off. Once we were sure, she brought a whole lot to the table. But more than just her chops, more than her guts and her willingness to sit in the hot seat, she brought intelligence and a story. And I love her story. This is someone who grew up in Germany in a family of musicians. Her dad was a drummer. She's played drums her entire life. She doesn't even remember the first time she picked up sticks. It's who she is. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to bring someone so fresh in the midst of Al and me? Yeah. I've mentioned this to you guys in the comments. I've mentioned the fact that there's been this seemingly organic, step-by-step, gradual process through which Rush has told us more, released more, and revealed more about all of this, about Anika, the process, and so on. And of course, with each subsequent interview and piece of information, we've learned more. But it's not like they shotgunned us everything at us all at once. That's not how it has happened. It's happened gradually, right? What that does is it either wears your walls down, okay, making you more susceptible to either like or dislike, but more importantly, it gives you that gradual introduction. Like first, oh, she's a female drummer, okay, and oh, she did this, she played with Jeff Beck, but then we learn more and more. More importantly, we learn how special she grew to Alex and Geddy, how much fun they're having with her, how good she is, how much she has taken over and done really well, brought her own thing to we've learned this incrementally. And my takeaway for me personally is I've grown more and more in love with the idea of her being the new drummer. I've just kind of gradually come to that. And that's where I'm at. I'm in pretty much full acceptance of this. Of course, there's that nagging thing always. Neil, of course. It's there for all of them, and it's there for Anika. That is there for Anika. And the boys talk about this not only in the Rick Beato interview, but in other places and sources as well. They've talked about that, how respectful she's been, how much she understands him. More importantly, trying to understand the feel of how he plays and how he plays his parts, the importance of the ride cymbal in his rhythms. She's learning and coming to the master almost new, but I think she's already found her certain level of reverence for him. I hate using that term for any human on earth, but the certain, let's say, respect, okay, and honoring who he was. And so anyway, it's been a nice process, and so I've warmed up to it greatly. I really have. All right, next up we have, let me switch over here. This is Geddy still going on about Anika. She's a bit younger than us, and she likes to remind us that every time we tell a story of a gig in 71, she goes, wow, I wasn't even born yet. I'm just a big fan of hers. This is Geddy talking. And I think Al has become a big fan of hers. Yeah, I think Geddy was on before Al was, but I think Alex is there now. Part of this little journey we're on now is nothing about her. I really want to succeed in this moment because she's taking all the heat. The fans love her right now. Okay, it's kind of strange that I just told you all that stuff when one of these upcoming lines was that. Yes, I'm falling in love with the idea. But they're going to scrutinize her. Yeah, of course we will. We're Rush fans. All right, so let me do that again. The fans love her right now, but they're going to scrutinize her. But she's up for it. I just love that about her. You know what? And she has to take the impossible seat, to sit in the impossible drum throne where Neil once sat, playing with Alex and Geddy. I've said this from day one after the announcement. And when we learned about Anika, I said, that's Mission Impossible. And, of course, I was hopeful that she was up for mission. Is she going to be the Tom Cruise or the person who fails the mission, right? And so far, she's doing pretty well. Proud of her. Next up, did you give Anika a big list of Rush songs to prepare for it and to become playing with you? So, Lee, we just picked out some classics. This is the question. Before she came to play with them in Toronto for those few days, they get to know each other. Yes, they gave her some classic Rush songs, quote unquote. And they said, learn these the best you can, and let's just see what happens. It was very casual, very relaxed. It was not an audition. And we said to her, because they've already picked her at that point, we're not auditioning drummers, but your playing really interests us. So just come and let's see what happens. I love that. Lifeson, I didn't know what the expectations were. I probably thought, well, she's very good. She seems to have a good grasp on the songs technically, but there's something that's there but there's something that was just not quite there. It really wasn't until the last day. So really, up until the last day, it wasn't quite there. Here's the last day. It wasn't until the last day that suddenly she sort of blossomed and understood better what we were looking for or going after. And then after that, it's just been a better progressively through the whole year of rehearsals. That's so cool. Lee, on the 5th day, and I believe that's the last day, this is what happened. We gone 4 days and Al and I hadn't even talked about her. Interesting. We only had her for a few days and we wanted to work through these songs and see her reactions, see her gut feel, learn a little bit about it. We didn't know her. She was a complete stranger, really. She was a bit intimidating when she first arrived, of course, but she'd heard of the band, hopefully, but she wasn't a Rush fan. She didn't know the songs immediately. Of course, she knew songs like Tom Sawyer, and she knew of her this is kind of reiteration of what we learned in the Anika interview, but by reputation, she knew Tom Sawyer. She didn't really know them super well. There's no drummer on the planet who doesn't know Neil Peart and doesn't revere that name. It was a tall order for her. And we were so busy working on these songs that we hadn't chatted. On the last day, I said, Al, can you pop over to my house? I need to talk about what's going on here. And he laughs. And he came over and said, hey, what do you think? And he said, I don't know. What do you think? And then I said, meaning Geddy, I don't know. What do you think we're doing? We talked about the pros and cons. There's a sliver of doubt. Her technique is incredible. Her facility. Playing these fills is the last problem we would have had. She nailed the fills. And that's not the thing. There's a lot more playing Rush song than just the fills. It's the feel. There's that word, remember from the Anika interview, my last video? It's the feel. It seems like they've talked a lot about feelings. And that's not a bad thing. It's the nuances. Our music is idiosyncratic, and it just takes time. We played Rush songs for maybe 5 or 6 different drummers over the years. Every time you sit down with a Rush song with a drummer, I don't care who they are, there's an adjustment. There's a little translation that Alex and I do with the drummer. It's about this little part of that little part, meaning adjusting to each drummer, right, respectively. The song and the material and how it's played. You're gonna have, and that just makes sense, right? Your rhythm holds down the song. It is the foundation onto which everything else is built, basically. And yeah, if that foundation shifts or changes some, you have to work with it. That's normal, but we just weren't sure. This is all new to us. We went on the last day with an open mind and little doubt. And song after song we played with her, she just killed it. I mean, she understood all those little things. Alex and I, this is a great line right here. She killed it on the last day, but throughout the week, she was learning and absorbing the things that they said right here. I mean, she understood all the little things Alex and I had been telling her all week. That's key. Okay. And she processed and she delivered. And when we looked at each other in the studio and went, yep, we have a real problem because now we have a drummer and we're going to have to make a commitment. That's great, right? It's like, oh, crap. We found someone. Now we have to commit to a tour. We have to commit to doing something. I would probably act the same way. It's like, oh, now I got to go do a bunch of hard work. All right. I'm kidding. All right. For Anika, it wasn't just about recreating the records. It was about bringing her own perspective to the music. Geddy replies, I don't know if Al feels the same way, but I think she's very respectful of those parts she's playing. She understands that air drummers for 45 years have been out there mimicking those parts. She wants to do that justice. But at the same time, she's completely original, an independent creative force, and she's sublimating a bit. That's the right word. A bit for the sake of doing a tribute to Neil. At the same time, the more she knows the songs, the more confidence she has with the songs. There are moments when she's able to put in her own special sauce on this song or that, and we'll start to look for those moments and then stretch those out. We already have a couple in the set where I look at her and go, Anika, it's free time. Oh, I love that. That's kind of cool, right? In the Ricky Beato interview, Geddy talked about their rehearsals and stuff, but also it's bass and drummer, right? That is a cohesive unit in the rock band. And they just smiled at each other. That is so special and key. It truly is, right? There needs to be a connection there, not only musically, but on an intellectual and emotional basis where like we're having a lot of fun. And wow, that was a great part, right? The great bands do this, right? You give a little nod. Yeah, or like, all right, Anika, let loose. This is your moment. All right. And you go and he tells her, you go wherever you want to go, and I'll be there. And we'll meet you there. I love it. I look at it like this. There have been phases to this adventure. Phase 1 was on her understanding Neil's role with Rush. Phase 2 is like, we've learned all the songs. Now let's have some fun with them. Now we're massaging the arrangements to see how they go. And at the same time, we're not out there to turn it into a new thing. Now, let me reread that. Sorry, guys. At the same time, we're not out there to turn all of this into a new thing. We're there to represent our songs with the hearts to the best playing that our fingers will do, and fans will celebrate the music with us. The mandate isn't to change everything. The mandate is to be respectful to the arrangements of the song at the time and elevate them from the norm. Love that quote from a Rush song. Got to elevate from the norm. you have hired Loren Gold to be your keyboardist. So this is something new. Yeah, that's correct, Geddy says. That's what we wanted. People come out, look at the stage setup. This is one of the key moments of this interview. You ready, guys? They hire Loren. This is the question. Something new. Geddy reacts. Yes, that's correct. That's what we wanted. When people come in and look at the stage setup, okay, the first night, whatever your first night is seeing this tour, it is not a trio. It's not Rush 2.0. It's a new time with a different vibe, but the music is treated respectfully. There you go, guys. Alex, are there any new guitars you're bringing out on the road? Yeah, a few. Kurt Hammett gave me one of his greenies, and I've been having fun with that. It's a pretty raunchy Les Paul for sure. The Gibson Custom Shop did an amazing job with it. The relicing is just spectacular. It sounds really, really great. So, guys, this is what's great. He got a guitar from Kurt Hammett. Love that. And he goes on to talk about his original ES 355. Lee adds, last tour, I had 27 vintage basses that we played. There it is, guys. And I don't know if I'll get through all 27 this time, but it's a slightly shorter show. And I've fallen in love with this beautiful 1962 Fender Jazz bass. I'm going to play that for quite a few songs. I have a feeling it's this turquoise blue one. We've been seeing that everywhere. In press photos, in the interview with Rick Beato, here in this photo here, I'm having a feeling that that is the 62 Fender Jazz. I'm also planning on bringing some unusual things out. I've got a couple classic Ricks. Oh, he's going to bring out a Rickenbacker. Sweet. I've also have some Hofners and some T-Birds I've fallen in love with. I'm going to have, I don't know, 10 to 15 this time. Next question. At the end of those 5 days with Anika, if it didn't work out or whatever reason, would it have ended the experiment or would it regrouped? Meaning, if Anika hadn't worked out, would you have kept going and tried to do something new, in a new tour? Lifeson says, I don't know, impossible to say. But Lee says, my gut tells me we would have regrouped and looked elsewhere. So there you go. That's the answer. If it wasn't Anika, if it just couldn't be her, their first choice, I think Lee would have been that prime mover to make something happen with someone else. Of course, as you said, Neil is irreplaceable. He's beloved by the fans. That said, people seem very excited about Anika playing with you guys. This is Geddy. We're very gratified with how well she's been welcomed by the Rush family, so to speak. Guys, right there, you've seen it in black and white. Geddy used the term Rush family. I love it. One more time. Geddy says, we are very gratified with how Anika has been welcomed by the Rush family. They haven't even heard her play one note with us yet. Well, this must have been before the Juno thing, but yes, in a bigger context, sure. And there's already this kind of outpouring of love for her. And they've shown her tremendous kindness, which I know is inspiring for her. It's been very gratifying to see the response. Guys, right here on this channel, I thank you. There's been some naysayers, some doubters, some questioners, but there's been a lot of love. You guys have shown a lot of love for Anika. So when Rush says we have been welcoming of her to the Rush family, I am just proud of you guys for doing that. So Anika, welcome to the Rush family. We're glad you're here. Next up, she must be a real inspiration for female drummers around the world. This next section I love. But we're going to start right here. Geddy says, yeah, I think this is part of her story. I love that part of her story. I've gotten mail from young girls and other women saying, right on, man, thank you. But now she's part of... Okay, now this is the next question. And now she's part of your story. Totally, but let's be clear. Guys, listen to this. We did not hire Anika Nilles because she's a woman. We've talked about that on this channel. And in the early days after the announcement, I was very clear. After Rush made their announcement, I was really clear to you guys that for me, this isn't about her being a woman, about Anika being a woman. This is about her being a drummer. She should be picked first and foremost as a great drummer, and I believe she has. So it is really inspiring to see Geddy and hear Geddy say, "We did not hire Anika Nilles because she's a woman. We hired her because she's an incredible drummer. Not just an incredible drummer, she's an intelligent, hardworking, responsible. I couldn't even get her drunk last night." And he laughs and I laughed. "I tried. Wow. Geddy, come on. That's bad influence of minors. All right, come on. She's underage." Joking. All right. She's a unique individual. In so many ways, she reminds me of the big goof who sat on the throne before her. That is a great compliment. For Geddy to say that Anika reminds him of the big goofball that sat on the drum throne, meaning Neil. So Anika is actually you know what? In that story right there, where they couldn't get her drunk last night, but Geddy tried, that sounds kind of like a Neil thing. Meaning, yeah, we know Neil drank. He loved his Macallan. But I don't think he was aiming to get drunk. Half the time he's just using it for pain relief after the concert. So anyway, I just love that there's some reminiscence there of Neil. All right, moving on. Anika, meaning she is a total professional. A work first person. The fact that she's female and she's doing this for women and other musicians around the world, that's a bonus. But it's not the reason she's in the seat. I cannot tell you how elated I am at that right there. I cannot tell you how happy I am that the fact that she's a woman is not first and foremost. This is not identity politics. This is not about all that. It's about musicianship. It's about playing. It's about, is she the best drummer? And when it was even in question in those earliest days, those 5 days up in Toronto, on the last day, she proved herself because she listened, she learned, she grew. She had the chops and the tools to do that. Not everyone could listen and go, "I can make these adjustments and I will do better. And this is what they want. And I'm going to make that happen by day 5. That is talent. So again, this is part of that greater story. I've been saying that the more I learn about Anika, the more I hear Geddy and Alex talk of her work ethic, the fact that her being a woman is not the most important thing. It's about being a drummer and a musician. And does she fit and, quote, feel the best for Rush? And the answer is a resounding yes. Guys, I have a lot of great videos come up. I have articles from Prog Magazine, articles from Classic Rock, some more stuff there. More articles, as you can see right here, from the Guitar World. This has been the Guitar World interview with Alex and Geddy. And one more thing, we're going to be doing that poem soon, guys. I thank you for subscribing. I thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of our Loud Boy family. I am humbled by you watching, by all of your comments, your feedback, and your love. You guys mean the world to me. You know, I'm Eric. This is the Loud Boy Experience. Have a good one.